Hey, good morning, everyone. This is Sarah's Night, and we're, of course, about to get into the final book of the original Bunnicula series. This one, yeah, you can see the title here, Bunnicula Meets Edgar Allan Crow. Now, you can probably already tell from the title alone, there is definitely a tonal difference between this and the previous six books, but there's something more, and that's kind of why I'm making this forward now to give my thoughts about this. This is the last book in the Bunnicula series, the seventh and final one, and it's so different from the previous six and it can't help but be so because, of course, you saw the happy ending that we came to at the end of Bunnicula Strikes Again, the last book. Chester's rivalry with Bunnicula is over now. There's really You'd think at first there's really nothing more to tell, but I guess this is kind of like just a zany little adventure that's kind of separate from the overarching story of the previous six books. I mean, the Monroe household is never really goes quite back to normal. It's just that there's a whole different problem at stake here, and now that Chester has finally settled his differences with Bunnicula, as you saw at the end of the final book, he no longer sees a threat in Bunnicula, or if he does, he believes he can keep it contained, and he actually has come to befriend Bunnicula, the rabbit himself. So I guess he sees the evil force, if ever there was one, and I guess we'll never truly know for sure whether it was all completely Chester's imagination and paranoia over Bunnicula, or if there was a potential for great destruction that Bunnicula represented as a vampire. But Chester sees that as more of an evil force within Bunnicula that he can't really help. It was just his breeding. We saw his origin story in Nighty Nightmare, which again is like the greatest vampire story ever told, in my opinion, to this day. It just had this strange epicness about it that I would never expect to see in like a children's book that's based off of like fourth grade, fifth grade reading level. But anyway, yeah, back to the main point here. I guess he sees that this is something Bunnicula really can't help, and the evil is sort of separate, just as a force living within him that he can now contain. And there's no need to actually cause harm to Bunnicula himself because he believes the rabbit himself to be innocent. It's almost like a dark half of his heart that he is not truly responsible for. So, there's that whole overarching story of Chester versus Bunnicula is now concluded, along with the sort of the monster of the week type books that we saw with Halliday Inn and Nighty Nightmare, where Bunnicula was not directly involved. And this is different now because, again, the protagonists isn't Chester and I guess to a lesser extent Harold and Howie, although they were definitely on the fence all the time, not seeing the same danger of Bunnicula as Chester once saw. And the antagonist is certainly no longer Bunnicula, however unwilling he seemed to be most of the time. The rabbit never even talked himself. He never actually, I mean, much less fought back against Chester. He never even spoke, which is amazing how much of an impact he has as a character when he is completely silent. But this is actually in Bunnicula Meets Edgar Allan Crow, if I can say this in general enough terms without it being a spoiler, they're almost teamed up here on the same side in the next and final little crazy adventure that falls upon the Monroe household, the hilarious circumstances. And yeah, this is because of that just innate difference there between this and the previous six books. It can't help but feel a little different as I'm reading, but that's not to say it's bad. In fact, it's probably not even. I probably wouldn't even consider it the least good of all seven Bunnicula books. And of course, I at least liked them all, if not thought that they were, legendary, like Nighty Nightmare and Holiday Inn, for instance. But this probably isn't even the weakest of them. That might actually be the Celery Stalks at Midnight, or the first Bunnicula book. But still, there is a whole different tone here. So, in fact, it's probably almost more akin to if Howie Monroe and the Doghouse of Doom, which I happened to read off first time reading it just for kicks a few videos back. You might remember that one from the Tales of the House of Bunnicula series spinoff. This might actually be closer in tone to that, but it's still Harold Monroe being the writer here. I'd say it's still definitely better than Howie Monroe and the Doghouse of Doom was. So you don't have to worry about this sucking or anything. Again, James Howell, thank you for writing all these books, and especially not even totally giving up on them after Return to Holiday Inn. I think it was a long time, not until the turn of the millennium, at least, until you wrote these last two, Bunnicula Strikes Again and the one we're about to read now, Bunnicula Meets Edgar Allan Crow. I mean, thank you for never even truly giving up on them, and just bringing us more entertainment, even into the new age. I mean, children now in this generation probably have no idea what these books are, and I'm hoping some of you are part of my YouTube audience, so that you are being made aware of these books, and I hope it gets you into reading if you don't already have a profound interest in it. And of course, there are other books James Howell has written that I admit I never checked out. I don't know why, because they're probably good. I mean, if Bunnicula is anything to go by, they're probably at least entertaining to read. The only one I can think of, aside from the Bunnicula books that I ever read written by James Howell, was another book called Morgan Zoo. I think it was, I don't know, it was a story about about this guy. I don't even remember his name, and these two kids that he was friends with, who he was like the zookeeper, really loved the animals there, and the zoo was about to close down due to financial troubles or something like that. So of course his name is Morgan. Sorry, I just now thought of that. It's part of the title. So Morgan and the two children who visit the zoo all the time and are friends with him and all the animals there, they all team up to save the zoo. It was good, I guess. I probably still have it somewhere. But yeah, there are plenty of other James Howell books, and I strongly suggest you look them up and give them a chance. I'd actually just now, after reading Bunnicula Strikes Again, seeing the list of books that he had at the end of it, all the other books that James Howell has written. One of them was called The Watcher, and that just the title alone intrigued me. So I looked it up on Amazon and actually bought it just now. So I'm looking forward to reading that. It's probably going to be totally different, but I'm interested in seeing what else he's done. How else, other stories he can write. And so I guess that's all I have to say about this, and we'll start the book in just a little bit. Thanks for listening, as always, guys. It was with a heavy heart that I entered my office that Friday afternoon in December. After the holidays, I would be cleaning out my desk one last time. Not because my publishing house was moving to a new office, but because I was moving to a new life. I wanted to believe that I'd made the right decision. After all, I'd yearned to take up sheep farming for as long as I could remember. Still, when I opened that door and beheld the shelves overflowing with books, the framed photos, plaques, awards covering the walls, the sharpened pencils with their worn-down erasers, and the half-read manuscripts and half-eaten candy bars littering my desk, I couldn't help asking, could sheep bring me anywhere near the pleasure I've found in the company of authors? As I sank into my dusty mauve Naugahyde chair, ergonomically sculpted with lumbar support curvature, a bonus I'd received as part of a recent job promotion, I felt myself sink into a dusty melancholia as well. I picked up a copy of the latest self-help bestseller written by one of my authors, Dr. Bob's Grab Yourself Some Happiness, even if it makes you miserable, and flipped to a random page, hoping to find reassurance that I was doing the right thing. Finding nothing on that page or any other to offer me answers, I began to wonder how the book had ever made it onto the bestseller lists, but felt it best not to pursue that line of thinking. I reached instead for the handle of the top right-hand drawer of my desk. I hesitated. What I kept in that drawer was there only in case of emergency. Slowly I pulled the drawer open. I couldn't find what I was looking for at first. I'd carefully hidden it from the eyes of my assistant, a former circus clown who liked to sneak into my office on weekends to reorganize my files and leave little balloon animals on my desk as a Monday morning surprise. But then my fingers touched it. I pulled the desired object out from under a legal pad and asked myself if I really wanted to do something so drastic. I had just come from the office holiday party, after all. I was full of eggnog and 7-layer cake, but the rich aroma of dark chocolate was too much to resist. I loosened my belt a notch and slid the bar from its wrapper, peeled back the foil, and was about to take my first bite when I was overcome by despondency. To eat chocolate, alone, behind a closed door. Had it come to this? I let my gaze drift to the door, my mind a whirlwind of chocolate and sheep and balloon animals, when suddenly I heard a familiar scratching. Could it be? Was it possible? After all these years and with no thought that he would write another book? I bolted to the door, yanked it open, and beheld him, a sad-eyed, droopy-eared dog carrying a large plain envelope in his mouth. I nearly wept for joy. Harold, here to save me from eating chocolate alone, here to present me his latest manuscript, and with it my opportunity to go out in glory. I could think of no way I would rather end my publishing career than editing one of Harold's books. I broke off a piece of chocolate, offered it to the canine author, and sat down to read the letter clipped to the top page of the manuscript. My dear friend, with the publication of my previous book, I had thought my writing career was at an end. But while a writer's career may end, a writer's life goes on. How does one close one's mind to experiences that practically cry out to be recorded? And once recorded, how does one resist the temptation to share them with others? Once again, the events of my life were transformed from the mundane to the mysterious by strange circumstances, and even stranger strangers. I hastened to write them down, the result being the manuscript you now hold in your hands. I know that my books can only aspire to the bestseller status of Dr. Bob's, but I hope that you will find my words worthy of publication nonetheless. They may be the last to find their way into print, for though I say I hastened to write them down, the pace of the writing itself was painfully slow. Arthritis has worked its way into these old paws of mine, and the words themselves don't come as quickly as they once did. Still, I felt compelled to tell this tale of writers and writing, of muses and the bemused, of crows and creativity. Oh, and did I mention terror? There is terror in this tale as well. It is, after all, about a bird named Edgar Allan Crow. Yours sincerely, Harold X. I felt my pulse quicken as I reached for my trusty No. 2 pencil and turned the first page of Harold's book. Little did I know that his words would do far more than entertain me, for here, in these pages that you yourself, dear reader, are about to enter, I would find the answers I had been seeking.